Hi everyone. Thank you for tuning into the JPI's fundraising livestream. This is a quick reminder for you to click the link in our description box below and donate to our COVID-19 crowdfunding campaign in association with Give India, Uplift, BCI, and the Ujala Foundation. Today we have amongst us one of the brightest JPI's alumni. Without further ado, we would love to welcome Aman Kapoor, working under one of the world's largest financial advisory firms, Deloitte. Hi Aman Bhaiya.
Hey Manan, how's it going?
All good. So, Aman Bhaiya, I remember Ayush sir telling us that you joined JPIs in the ninth grade. You barely slept, and that he would get emails from you about essays and college apps between 1 to 5 a.m. And I think that edge is essential because a lot of hard work went into creating an application that got you early decision into pen engineering. Speaking from the perspective of a student that's beginning to apply to colleges in the US, it is extremely difficult to get into prestigious universities like UPenn. How has the counseling experience at GPIS helped you move one step forward in your journey?
Oh, I think great question. I feel like counseling at JPIS has been transformational in terms of how I made it to Penn. I feel the push that you get from Ayush Bhaiya and all the other staff at JPIS has been phenomenal. I was always pestering, and I think Ayush Bhaiya gave me the ammunition to be pestering all the time. They enabled me to send them emails at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and they were always very responsive. And I feel that I still remember the first essay I wrote. It was I thought I wrote the best essay of my life. Went to Ayush Bhaiya, and he's like, "This essay is so bad. I would, if it was on a piece of paper, I'd burn it over there." So it was like in a joking manner, obviously, right, just to motivate me to do better. And he always kept pushing me. He saw that I wrote great essays, but like he never stopped at great. He wanted it to be phenomenal. He wanted it to be the best. So that push is essential, and I feel like a lot of luck is also involved in just getting into these colleges, but that is something that's out of your control. What JPIS does, it just like pushes you to work hard and hard until you get lucky.
So, but what I personally believe is the harder you work, the luckier you get in life. So,
Exactly.
yeah. Could you also share with us what happened when the Penn admissions officer was visiting India? And in Delhi, you charmed him in a way that he knew you were the kid who had the most research and knowledge about Penn, and you had more answers than he had, being a Penn anim himself.
Yeah, so I think we need to do our best to stand out, right? If you're trying to get into one of the best colleges in the world, you need to make sure that you're different from the other people, because everyone touches those baseline metrics. And when you go to these events, everyone's going to ask the same questions. What are the SAT scores required? What can I study over there? All those questions are pretty boring. And I now am like an interviewer for Penn, so I get to speak to prospective students also. And I feel like what really stands out is the students who are like really transparent and honest in the way they speak and are very genuinely curious about certain things, and like they ask questions that go beyond the general questions. Those are the kids that I remember when I speak to them. What I personally asked John, was the admissions officer, when he was visiting, um, was a specific quote that Benjamin Franklin had stated. He said that at Penn, we want to allow students to combine the functional and ornamental in the world. I might have butchered the quote a little bit, but it was along those lines. And I asked him specifically, what did he mean by ornamental? And he was caught so off guard because everyone over there was just asking SAT questions. And he's like, what is this kid asking me? And he made up some random answer at that point. And whenever I meet him now, I joke about it. I'm like, yeah, you didn't know the answer to what ornamental really meant, and you just said anything. And it's like, yeah, that's how I remember you.
Aman Bhaiya, so we all know that UPenn must have been an important segment in your journey towards getting into one of the biggest financial advisory firms in the world. So Deloitte, what inspired you to take up a job there? How was the interview process, and like what skills have you picked up working there?
Yeah, so three-part question. I feel first regarding your inspiration point. I always wanted to get into consulting after college, and I had a background in computer science, but my interests always lied in the business side of things. So eventually, in the future down the line, I want to have my own startup. in the tech space. And I thought about it after college, what potential career options I could have. I could like do the standard pen path, which is get into finance, get into private equity afterwards, or do some kind of growth strategy position elsewhere, which is what most of the kids when I was in college did, or take the startup route. What I wanted was more flexibility because I wasn't sure about what industry or what kind of market I want to get into. And I thought consulting gave me the best opportunity to just explore that after college. And why I chose Deloitte was that Deloitte had this specific business technology analyst position, which basically was a combination of general management consulting, which involved the business side of things, and the technology aspect to it. So, how do you combine both to give businesses data driven results and an edge over other normal businesses that do not consider technology now? And over the years, consulting has basically morphed into technology consulting because there's no business without technology. So, I feel like Deloitte really helped me and has been helping me so far to just understand how these big businesses work with technology and how technology is shaping the world. So in terms of the interview process, it's again very standardized, and it's funny. Funny enough, I am also involved with recruiting for Deloitte at Penn. So I again speak to a lot of candidates from Penn who want to get into Deloitte and from other colleges also. And again, it's very standardized what they look for in applicants. You have your resume, you've got your cover letters, and then you've got your casing assessments, and they give you specific rubrics, or like there's a very standardized way of grading and everyone's graded the same way. So as long as you meet a threshold, you're good to join a company. What really stands out is how you network with people and who all you know within the firm. So I was, I think, fortunate enough that I went to a lot of coffee chats and I met the right people for Deloitte who did stuff that I was very interested in. And therefore, when I met the baseline criteria to get into Deloitte, they knew that my interests were aligned with theirs and they could potentially have me on their team. So that's what really gave me that edge to join Deloitte. And in terms of what I've learned so far, I've learned so much. I think 1.5 years down the line at Deloitte, I think I it's honestly 0 to 100. You learn so much about the way big companies work, the way startups operate, and how really you can make money in real life. I think that's something you don't really learn so much in college. And through Deloitte, I've been able to focus on two different industries: financial services and TMT, which is technology, media, and telecommunication. And my interests actually lie within the intersection of those. So I'm currently working on a startup on the side, which is essentially building a neobank for college students. And the idea that I got for it was partly based from my college experience and partly based on the digital first banking strategy projects that I did at Deloitte.
So Aman Bhaiya, I was talking to Prerit Kothari a few days back, and he himself is a MNT student at Penn, right? So you pursued engineering while you were at Penn, but while I was talking to him, he told me that you also have large flexibility. While if for example, if you're studying at UPenn, you engineering, you can also go and attend classes at the Wharton School.
Hmm.
So did you ever do that, and did that help you out with the way you're pursuing your job right now?
Absolutely. I feel like you can take different classes in different schools within UPenn. Different schools being the dental school, which I don't think a lot of people take classes in over there. There's nursing, there's College of Arts and Sciences, and there's Wharton. And these are the main schools that you can take classes in, all different kinds of classes. I took a variety of different classes because I did not really know what I wanted to major in. And a side topic, I won't digress much, but you can actually create your own major at Penn. So you can take a combination of different classes from different schools. And as long as you're working towards one end goal, you could have an individualized major. But I definitely took classes in Wharton. I did the entrepreneurship minor, and this one was a little more focused with technology. And I feel like that was instrumental in me getting Deloitte one, in me being able to talk about different things in the entrepreneurship sphere related to technology. And the knowledge that I got from those classes has really been the most relevant so far in real life post college. And I feel my favorite professor also was from uh, an entrepreneurship course that I took, which was not normally a part of the computer science degree that did at Penn.
Okay, so Aman, I didn't personally know that you're involved in the recruiting process as of now. So a
Mm-hmm.
question to you would, when you're recruiting, or for any recruiter, for example, what do they mainly look for an applicant who's applying to college? A question for all the 12th graders who are looking for colleges right now. What would you look in except all the academic and co-curricular achievements he has?
Mm-hmm. So that level of insight I do not have, or I'm not able to share yet. But uh, loosely speaking, I feel like it's very easy to meet the baseline criteria, right? You've got the grades, you've got your extracurriculars, and as long as you meet them, you're good uh, to come into Penn. What really makes you stand out is, and you and I were talking about this, is your essay, both your personal essay and your um, supplemental essay for Penn. In what we really want to see is that in terms of a culture fit, can the person who applied to Penn really thrive over there? Will he or she really make use of the resources available to him or her and make the best use of it? And then, secondly, in terms of an eclectic mix that Penn is, we want to see a little bit of diversity over there. So this has been a recent trend toward in colleges. Basically, there's been a lot more admissions, if you consider India, more from the second and third tier cities because universities want to build networks. You go to Penn. Why do you go to Penn? Because you've got amazing alumni from there, right? You've got who's who, everyone from there, and what's happened right now is that from India, you've got most of the admissions from Delhi, you've got Bombay, you've got the major cities. I think from JPI as Ridhima was the one who started with that pen. And since her year, there have been consistently admissions from Jaipur and other third. I wouldn't say Jaipur is a third tier city. I love it. I would call it the first tier city. But realistically, it's not big enough, right? So they want to basically expand within India through different cities. So being in Jaipur actually helps you in college admissions for all the Ivy Leagues because 15 years down the line, they want to say that in India, we got a network not only from Delhi, Bombay, but from Jaipur, from Hyderabad, from Patna, and all the other places also. But going back to your point, what's important is for you to bring your authentic self at Penn. If you demonstrate that through the application, it's basically through the essays and the kind of extracurriculars that you do. So there has to be some kind of consistency over there and a passion that is shown through that application that will make you stand out.
So Aman, we are considering that the CEO of Deloitte is himself an Indian American. How do you think that that aspect has impacted diversity and inclusiveness in the workspace?
I think Deloitte, by just the company culture over there, has been so towards diversity, equity, and inclusion in general. We have so many initiatives for having or ensuring that there is adequate diversity and everyone's given a fair chance. It's really drilled into our DNA at Deloitte. We've got so many trainings that happen every 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And the CEO that you mentioned is actually the global CEO, Puneet Ranjan. And he's a phenomenal, inspirational person. He recently drove the effort to donate a lot of oxygen cylinders to India and has always advocated for diversity in the workplace. Under him as the US CEO, Dan Helfrich, and I think with the movements that have happened in the US with Black Lives Matter and everywhere the Asian hate discrimination, Deloitte really takes it very seriously and they make sure that the workplace is as conducive to learning and creating a more collegial environment as much as possible. So they make us go through diversity training and just keep us aware of how we are, right? We, all of us, unknowingly make a lot of generalizations. I feel in a very diverse place like the US, it's very easy to hurt someone unknowingly. And through these trainings, they basically ensure that that doesn't happen. And I'll just give you an example. I was doing a training just last week, and it is considered to be stereotyping and generalizing when you do not know someone, but you can visibly see that they're of Asian descent. If you ask them for food recommendations for a certain type of cuisine, that is considered generalization. So even small things like that, and I think very common is if someone's an Indian in the US, when you go to college, they'll be like, "Oh, you speak very good English." It's considered like a negative stereotyping, or I forget the exact word for it. But think, even when you're trying to compliment, you associate your race or your ethnicity with it. That basically does not make it very diversity friendly. And things like these that I never thought about, just they make the trainings make you aware of that, and every interaction that you have, you just make sure that you unknowingly don't hurt a lot of people around you.
Aman, where you were talking about a startup you're working at the site right now while you work at Deloitte. Would you want to talk more about it and how have you planned it out and what are you looking for about it in the future? You talk about the startup, and can you then talk about anything else that you want out of life? Something that you've planned for like when you're over 40 or 50, something you've planned?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if Ayush Bhaiya is listening, he would know the answer to the latter part of 40 years, 50 years down the line. There's a moment in JPIS that where I realized that. But regarding the startup's called Peach, and it is a neobank that is focused towards college students. And essentially, what it does, explaining neobank, I don't think everyone knows about it. A neobank is a digitally first bank. Basically, in your phone, you can download an app, which is basically a bank. And neobanks do not have physical presences. All your banking that you do, having a checkings account, savings account, is all on your phone. So recently, there's been a trend, at least in the US, to have a lot of neobanks. A lot of neobanks have come up. In fact, the most valued fintech startup in the US is a neobank called Chime. What we are creating is a neobank that's hyper focused towards college students with a twist. And I'll tell you how we thought about the twist. The twist basically is we offer microcredit. And how we thought of it was this: we were in college, and when you go to college, you realize you start budgeting for the first time. You're a freshman, you're getting your pocket money as such. You have to pay rent, you have to pay for your own food, you have to pay for electricity, all things new, right? And you want to go out and party also. So a lot of times you would overspend initially, and towards the end of the month you might not have a lot of money left, and you'd have to ask for your money from your parents, from your friends. And if you do it consistently, which a lot of college students do, it could be embarrassing to ask for money. So what we thought was, if you have your bank account directly linked to your phone and you do everything through your phone, what if you could press a button and get $100, $200 credit that you could use, that you could pay back in a month or 2 months and not pay any interest on it. What you would pay would be a subscription fee, which would be like, let's say, $2 for borrowing $100 for a month. So this is essentially what Peach does. And the reason you do not have this in the US or any other country for that matter is that microcredit, one, is not very, or used to be not very lucrative because of the logistical reasons behind it. You'd go to some community bank and borrow 100 $200 from there. The effort and cost associated with borrowing that just did not justify the minor amounts that you took. With neobanks, it's possible now. And a little story behind Peach. Peach, basically, how the name came to be. There's the theory of lemons in the lending market, right? You've got bad actors and good actors. Let's say the lemons are the bad actors, the peaches are the good actors. If you've $100 that you could lend to everyone, because of information asymmetry in the market, you don't know which one's going to repay you, which one won't. So you have to charge a high enough interest rate to everyone based on the assumption that a lot of people won't pay you. So the peaches or the good people in the economy actually get have a disadvantage because they pay high interest rates just because of the information asymmetry. So our bank basically solves for those peaches. To your other question regarding what I plan to do down the line, I think two-step process. Number one, most important goal that I have is create a startup in India. I feel like India is a growing economy. There is so much scope for development, so much opportunity over there. And even if you could just look at companies successful over here that leverage the market conditions, India is going to have those market conditions later on. So even if you just take inspiration from ideas over here and implement it in India, it could be very profitable. But not just that, just how different the Indian economy is, what price, how the economy is very price conscious in general and very labor intensive, and the fact that there's not a lot of technology penetration in all the markets. I feel there's a lot of opportunity over there. So that's what I want to do eventually in the long run. 40 years down the line, maybe 30 years down the line, I want to get into politics, and I think that is the end game for me. I feel like what really drives me as a person is to be responsible for a lot of people. I'm a people's person. I love talking to people, helping them out, and it just gives me contentment when I'm able to solve people's problems. So if I could do that at a large scale through politics, I think I'd be a very happy person. And I that realization actually happened when I was in Step by Step, now JPIS, and Jeffrey Archer was visiting, and we were in the auditorium, and I was, I think, sitting towards the front, and he just tells me to stand up in front of everyone. He's like, "What do you want to do? What do you want to be?" And I was in ninth or tenth grade. I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do, and I think I no filter. I just said I want to be prime minister, and that's when the realization happened. I was like, this is maybe actually what I really want to do. And I think since ninth or 10th grade until now, and this I even brought up in my job application interviews, I was like, they asked me, what's the long term plan? I said, politics. And they were always amused by it. So there was always a story to it. And maybe that helped me also in being unique.
Mm, thank you, Aman, Bhaiya, for your time and for giving us an insight into your journey. Your
Mhm.
insightful words have been very inspiring, and your work has truly been inspiring for all our viewers. This is a quick reminder for you to click the link in our description box below and donate to our COVID-19 crowdfunding campaign in association with Give India, Uplift, BCI, and the Ojala Foundation. Once again, thank you so much for taking the time to answer our questions. Let's help India breathe again.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for your time. And please, whoever is listening or will listen, donate. I think there's a lot of need in the country, and anyone who can help definitely should help.
Thank you so much.